Picture this. You've got a ship sailing perfectly smoothly across the ocean, totally intact, but there isn't a single living soul on board. In this explainer, we're diving into what is arguably one of the most chilling maritime mysteries in all of human history, the Mary Celeste. For over 150 years, historians, veteran sailors, and investigators have been scratching their heads over what actually went down on those decks. It's like a giant puzzle that's outlasted generations. So today, we're going to break the whole thing down.
Put yourself in the shoes of a 19th century sailor for a second. You're out traversing the Atlantic, the ocean is perfectly calm, and the weather is absolutely gorgeous. And then, way out in the distance, you spot a ship. Its sails are fully raised, it's catching the wind, and from where you're standing, it looks completely normal. Just another vessel making its daily trek across the water, right?
But as you row over and actually climb aboard, your blood instantly runs cold. You're met with dead silence. There's literally no one at the helm, no crew working the ropes. And honestly, the creepiest part? There is zero sign of a struggle. It's just abandoned food and personal belongings sitting exactly where they were left. So what on earth happened to everyone? Did they escape? Were they taken? Or did something completely unexplainable happen out there? This entire baffling story unfolds over an incredibly tight window of just a few short weeks, taking us straight from a perfectly ordinary departure to an absolutely inexplicable discovery.
To really wrap our heads around this mystery, we've got a flashback to November 1872. The Mary Celeste is leaving New York, bound for Genoa, Italy, and sitting below deck is a very specific, highly volatile cargo, industrial alcohol. Now, keep that detail in your back pocket because it becomes a massive piece of the puzzle later on. And listen, this wasn't some crew of rookies. You had Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their young daughter Sophia, and 7 highly seasoned sailors on board. These were skilled men who knew the ocean like the back of their hands. They were heading out into really favorable weather, completely unaware they were about to just vanish into history.
Everything gets flipped upside down just a few weeks later. On December 4th, another ship, the De Gracia, spots the Mary Celeste. But she isn't sailing with any sort of purpose. She's just drifting, totally aimless, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
The guys on the De Gratia knew immediately that something was very wrong when the Mary Celeste just flat out ignored all of their signals. Any ship with raised sails and open water should absolutely acknowledge a passing vessel. It's standard procedure. This haunting silence was enough to make the De Gratia's crew lower a boat and go check things out for themselves.
And this is where we hit the true core of this crime scene, the wildly bizarre contrast between what was left behind and what was taken. The cargo of industrial alcohol? Untouched. The crew's food? Still there. Yet the lifeboat? The captain's most critical navigation instruments? And all 10 human beings had just vanished into thin air.
No blood, no bodies, no signs of a mutiny. There were absolutely zero signs of violence or struggle anywhere on those decks. And frankly, every single one of these facts just deepens the mystery, forcing investigators to throw out the simple answers and look way beyond the obvious.
When you've got no survivors and a perfectly intact ship just bobbing out at sea, pure logic kind of hits a brick wall. But over the last century and a half, folks have managed to narrow the investigation down to 4 main theories.
So, was it a catastrophic explosion, a rogue wave, a pirate attack, or something paranormal? Let's take these one by one and test them against the hard facts.
Okay, theory number 1 points straight back to that cargo of industrial alcohol. Did building fumes make the captain fear an imminent explosion, causing him to order a quick, temporary evacuation into the lifeboat? Well, actually, scratch that. The physical evidence proves an explosion never even happened. If they did abandon ship out of sheer panic, they tragically failed to get back on board before the Mary Celeste just drifted away from them forever. Theory 2 suggests a sudden natural disaster, like a massive rogue wave slamming into the ship. Obviously, this would cause extreme panic, and maybe the captain ordered everyone off. But wait a second, that doesn't explain the condition of the ship. If a giant wave swept over them, why was the Mary Celeste still floating and practically undamaged? And again, if they survived and got into the lifeboat, the ship just sailed right off without them.
Then we have the pirate theory. Now, we know pirates were definitely a threat in the Atlantic back then. But let's think about this critically. Pirates are in it for the loot, right? They would never in a million years leave behind a highly valuable cargo of alcohol and all the crew's personal treasures. Since literally nothing was stolen, this theory just completely falls apart.
Which brings us to the final theory, the paranormal. Because logic seems to be failing us, over the years, people have tossed around ideas like cursed waters, extraterrestrials, you name it. And while alien abductions or giant squids make for amazing campfire stories, there's absolutely zero scientific evidence to back them up. Still, when you have a massive vacuum of truth, wild ideas tend to spread like wildfire.
So here we are today, more than 150 years later. No bodies were ever recovered, and not a single survivor ever surfaced to tell us what really happened to the Briggs family and their crew. The Mary Celeste has firmly cemented its title as the world's most famous ghost ship.
Sometimes the greatest mysteries aren't about what we see. They're about what disappears without leaving a trace. That really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? The Mary Celeste isn't famous because of the clues investigators found. It's famous because of the chilling absence of clues. It's the missing lifeboat, and that profound, eerie silence they left behind.
So, looking closely at everything we've laid out today, the untouched cargo, the missing navigation tools, and an undamaged ship drifting completely alone, was this a tragic accident born out of sheer panic, a freak act of nature, or something else entirely? What do you honestly believe happened out there in the silence? Keep exploring the facts, and as always, stay curious.